On the Sidelines, Episode 4.
When the game ends and those Friday night lights dim,
that's the cue to turn our attention onto the very players, coaches, and community that makes football in Union County great.
Join Tim Winters as he covers the game from every angle, here on the Sidelines.
Hey, Union County Football Nation. Thanks again for joining me. This is Tim Winters on the Sidelines today with Sun Valley's Ty Griffiths. Before we get into the full swing of the interview with Ty Griffiths, I just want to take this opportunity to thank all of you, just to let you know how humbled and honored I am that this show on the Sidelines in one short week has been selected to the new and noteworthy section in iTunes under college and high school sports. An incredible achievement, and it really is all in thanks to you guys for supporting the show, for listening to the show, and for sharing the show with your friends and family. This is so great for the student athletes that play football in Union County. The more exposure they get via this show, via the shares and the likes and the subscriptions, that just helps expose them and promote them to more people throughout the country. So I cannot thank you enough for all that you do for me, the website, and this podcast. All right, before we get into the interview with Ty Griffiths, let's find out a little bit more about him. Ty Griffiths is a 6'2", 230-pound senior long snapper from Sun Valley High School. He carries a 3.8 GPA and serves on the student council. Ranked number 5 amongst all long snappers in the country by Chris Rubio, the long snapping guru, Griffiths committed to NC State with a full scholarship offer. So there's a little background information on Ty Griffiths. So let's get to the interview with the best long snapper in the state of North Carolina. I am extremely excited to have Ty Griffiths on with me here today on the Sidelines. Ty, welcome.
Hello.
Well, Ty Griffiths, you've come a long way over the last few years at Sun Valley, the number one long snapper in the state of North Carolina for all I've seen. I looked earlier today, I think, on Rubio long snapping. He's got you number 5 in the country.
Yep. That's
pretty much the gold standard. Mm-hmm. Can you talk about the development, where you are here now, just a few weeks from graduation, and the development you've made as a player and as a student athlete overall from freshman to your senior year?
Well, freshman year, I wasn't the biggest or strongest. I worked hard, but academically I did well. And then once I started getting bigger and stronger and I made varsity my sophomore year, school got harder, but just kind of have to keep your nose down, not worry about what's going on around you, and just do what needs to be done. So,
how difficult is that to try to balance out football and then school together? It's got to be pretty difficult.
It's not easy, but you have to prioritize things. It really helps when like time management, basically. Like, I know I have to get this done and this done before I can do this. Like, I obviously have to go to football practice after school, and that can, depending on what kind of mood coach is in, you can go pretty late. So it just depends what happens in practice and then how late I have to stay up for homework. Sleep is a big deal to me, though, because if I don't get enough sleep, I'm kind of grumpy. So,
right. Like most of us are. Talk about the development that you've had as a football player, and you've had it difficult. You're not alone. A lot of your teammates have gone through 3 coaches in that time period. So talk about the coaching changes and the development that you've had as a player. Obviously, it made it more difficult, but how you evolved and how you came about to find long snapping as a way to move on to college.
Well, I played middle school football at Sun Valley from like 4th grade. And I always grew up wanting to play for Coach Stein because he was like the man to me. He was like my hero when I was in middle school and stuff. And when I got to high school, I played a couple years for him, and I loved it. And when he said he was leaving, it was kind of devastating at first. And then we got Coach Hall, and he came in, and then we played. I didn't really have a long enough time to get to know Coach Hall very well. And then after he left, we got Coach Baucom, and Coach Baucom's done a real good job working with all the kids. He's real good motivator. He knows how to keep your spirits high. Like before games, he'd always give you a speech and he'd pass out inspiration cards and stuff. That was pretty cool. Never had a coach do that. But when I started long snapping like the beginning of my junior year, and I'd always done it, but I was the backup. Like I had never started. And I went to one camp and I ended up winning it, and that's just kind of how it all started. And now I'm like, obviously like 5th in the country, and I never thought I'd ever be 5th in the country at anything. But I think it's pretty cool. It's kind of like a dream. He's still, I don't really believe it, but it's real. So
that was the turning point, I believe. I would assume it was the spring of 2013. I think that you won that Rubio camp here in Charlotte, and then you went on to win it again.
Just this last one in November. No, December. Yeah, it was had to bring the title back.
So when you won that, I mean, you win in that day. How many kids were there in that spring?
75 kids were there,
and you came out on top.
Yeah.
And what was your goal going into that, and then coming out of that, winning that? How did that change your mindset?
Well, I mean, the camps, anyone can really win because it's on a target. And some kids, they can just float the ball in and it goes in. But other guys who are more advanced snap the ball really hard, and it could be going really fast and bounce off the corner in one of the pockets and not go in. So that had happened to me a lot going through, and I lost to kids that I knew I should have beat. And then I went in, and I actually went all the way through the accuracy competition, and I lost in the finals of that. So I had to go to the speed competition, and I killed everybody in that. So I went back in the finals with the kid who had beaten me earlier, and it took me 2 snaps to take him out because I was determined I was getting it. So,
talk about the impact that, I don't know if it was just Coach Rubio, Chris Rubio, or anybody else that really influenced you as a long snapper and had a lot of impact on how you developed as a long snapper.
Well, Rubio definitely. I mean, I wouldn't be where I am today without him. He's the man when it comes to long snapping. There's no doubt about that. And, I mean, I can't really pick out one person who really inspired me. It'd probably be my grandpa, Pop, and then my dad. I like to think everybody I come in contact with has an influence on where my life's going. So, I mean, there's a lot of people I could say, but those 3 really stand out.
How do you go about practicing and developing that skill as a long snapper?
It's a lot of alone time. There's no one I can really practice with around me. All my friends that are long snappers live like 3-4 hours away at the least. So I kind of have to, I'm secluded during practice. I'd have to go off and just like pull someone with me so they could catch my snaps. But, it's hard work, but it paid off. So now I get to go to college and actually have a kicker and a punter with me all the time, and that's all we're going to do. So it's going to be real nice.
Talk about that recruiting process. You were offered and you're committed yourself to the Wolfpack of North Carolina State. I know that Louisville, it was down to Louisville and NC State. But before we go there, just talk about the recruiting process. How stressful was it? Was it stressful? What went through your mind over that 2 to 3 year period that you were going to different camps and schools?
Well, being a long snapper, the recruiting process is a little different. It happens a lot later for most guys. I was offered late for a regular athlete, but I was offered one of the earliest in my class as a long snapper in July. But, before I ever got offered or any schools were talking to me, it was real stressful because you don't know where you're going to land. You don't know what's going to happen. I could have gone to a junior college for all I know. Like, you never know what's going to happen. I could get injured at any minute. So it was real stressful. I think I sent out like 3,000 some emails to every college coach I could find on the internet. But eventually it paid off. I got offered by Louisville in like June, and NC State had offered me a preferred walk-on spot. And then I went and visited them in July, and that's when Coach Doran offered me, and I kind of knew as soon as he said that. I was with my whole family, and we were up in his office. As soon as he said they were going to offer me a scholarship, I was like, it was just like pulling at me. I had to go. So
you pretty much knew. I know Louisville came out with that that SI cover right at the last second.
That made it hard to say no. But and I mean, I loved Louisville when I visited and stuff. It wasn't the right place for me. It was too far for me to have to drive like 9-10 hours home. And they told me I could take a plane. I was like, "You gonna pay for the ticket every time I want to go home?" No. So, I mean, NC State's the right place for me, and I love Raleigh. I love all the guys that I've met up there. So, I think it's the perfect fit for what I want to be.
Awesome. What advice would you give an underclassman thinking about that recruiting process, going to camps and combines and everything else? What would you recommend, knowing what you know?
They need to be patient. I mean, it's not going to happen overnight. I mean, you got to work hard. Coaches aren't going to come to you. The recruiting process is a full-time job. I never got a job in high school, never had one, because I was getting recruited all the time. So it's real hard because you want to go do stuff with your friends and stuff, but you have to email coaches, call coaches. I mean, I left hundreds of voicemails. I know I did. So just be patient, work hard, and it'll come. But don't ever get discouraged, because once you just put your head down, it's never going to happen.
All right, good. Thanks for sharing that. Before we transition over to your future plans and looking ahead to NC State, let's just take a look back at your playing career at Sun Valley. What would you pick as one of the lowest lows and then one of the highest highs?
I'd say the lowest would be losing to Weddington this year. Probably the worst feeling I've ever had. And our last game against Statesville, that one hurt real bad. I've never cried after a football game before, but that one jerked me a little bit. My proudest moment.
Was it more because of you being a senior?
Yeah, I mean, I'm never going to be able to play at Sun Valley again. I grew up playing there. I've never really played anywhere else except for like my first year of Pee Wee ball. So there's nothing like it. I'm going to miss it a lot, but I mean, I got bigger things ahead. So, and I'd say my proudest moment would probably be my sophomore year. I made my first varsity start at defensive end, and I remember my first snap I ever had, and I sacked the quarterback, and I forced a fumble, and we recovered it on like the 20-yard line, and I was like, wow, it's starting.
Who was that against? Do you recall?
Garinger.
It was Garinger. Okay.
Because I had a broken first rib from camp the first 2 weeks of the season. So.
Now I would have predicted, although now I don't even know if you played in the game, but I would have figured that one of the high games for you would have been the win that you guys had over Porter Ridge 2 seasons ago.
Yeah, I played in that game.
You did, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was probably being able to beat Porter Ridge after that long losing streak.
At home.
Yeah, at home. I mean, I came out of there, I ran off the field and I hugged my family. I was so happy. I mean, I snapped in that game and I played linebacker and defensive end, and it just felt good putting it on them. I've hated them since I was a little kid. I mean, I don't hate them, but football-wise, I can't stand them.
Well, I just figured it's easily probably the loudest. Although the Sun Valley Weddington game, were you in
the
that
4
game?
overtime game? Yeah, I was in that game too. Yeah,
that was pretty crazy too.
Mm-hmm. Had a lot of big games that I've been in since I've been in high school. It's hard to believe it's over. It's still kind of like I don't feel like it, because I'm like, all my teammates are working out with the team now, and I'm like going home after school. It's just, it doesn't feel good.
Yeah, and then as you were saying prior to the interview, going home and eating bread and eggs and
that diet that State put me on is killing me. It makes you feel good about yourself after, but while you're eating it and people around you are eating like fried chicken and French fries and stuff, it really depresses you.
All right, well, we're going to now move on to before we go to the Quickfire Questions, let's talk about NC State a little bit. Mm-hmm. You'll be going there in a few weeks after you graduate. What, about 10 days or 15 days after graduation?
About 10 days, yeah.
And then just talk about what you see as your short-term goals there and what you hope beyond NC State? I know it's down the road a little bit, but what are your goals?
Well, first, I have to do this thing called Summer Start. So I'm trying to start off my college education with a 4.0. So I want to make all A's my first summer semester. And I know I'm going to be the only scholarship long snapper, but I'm working hard now. I want to go in and win that job from day one. I just want to beat everybody out and secure it, because otherwise you never know what's going to happen. You can't let people sneak up on you. And I'd say long term, every kid wants to go to the NFL someday. So I hope the NFL would work out if I have a real good college career. And then I say if I don't make it to the league, I want to be a physical therapist and train athletes and rehab athletes, just because I want to be a part of the sport even when I'm not an athlete anymore. So,
does it inspire you at all when you see a guy like Jamison Crowder who played at Monroe, and Isaac Blakeney and Anthony Boone at Weddington? Although Blakeney didn't go to the NFL scouting combine, but to see that, does that play a part into the dreaming of that it's a possibility?
Yeah, we live in Union County, so you never really think like, hey, this guy's going to make it big or this guy's going to make it big. But it kind of drives you knowing that I'm coming from a place where some big athletes have come. Just to see them do that, it makes me think that I got a shot at it if I work hard. So
cool. Now we're going to go into quick-fire questions, shorter answers, and just pretty much to the point. Just get a little bit more feel for you as a person be off the playing field. Your favorite app on your phone?
It's probably this game that my girlfriend made me get. It's called AA. It's just a little puzzle game thing. You got to make the dots go into this little circle without touching any other circles. And when you make it, it's real exciting. Like, you get pumped, and then when you don't get it, you kind of get angry. It's one of those little addicting games that you can't delete off your phone until you know you beat it. So
it's called AA? AA. All right. We'll link to that on the show notes. If you had a chance to meet any athlete, living or deceased, who would it be and why?
That's a hard one. I'd say ever since I started snapping, I've wanted to meet J.J. Jansen, the long snapper for the Panthers. I never got to do that, so I think that'd be pretty cool, just because being a long snapper, meeting an NFL long snapper would be pretty cool.
All right. Now, this next question might put you off in a bad way, considering we were talking about diets before. Your favorite meal, one comfort food that you go back to after a game, or just that this is what I want to eat?
Well, after games in high school, go to Cookout and I always get a strip tray with a quesadilla and french fries with a side of ranch and a big strawberry milkshake. But I'd say if I had to pick my favorite food, I'd say veal parmesan is probably my favorite thing ever. I could eat that every day and not get tired of it.
And you can't eat that right now?
No. I think the veal's fried before they put it on the pasta, and that's off limits.
Right. You're going to be moving on now. Friday Night Football is going to be a thing of the past, but a part of your life. What are you going to miss most about Friday Night Football? What did it mean to you?
It probably sounds kind of corny and overused, but I remember the first time I ran out of the tunnel at my first varsity game, my freshman year. I got pulled up for the playoffs, and we were playing Hopewell, and I ran out, and there was smoke everywhere, and I didn't know, I lost my legs, and I couldn't see my feet, and I just kept running until I could see my feet again, because it freaked me out. But ever since then, I love that feeling, coming out of the tunnel. I can say I was always in the first line coming out of the tunnel every time, because I just wanted to be the first one out. So I'd say running out of the tunnel was probably the most meaningful moment, and I always remember the last time I did it too. So high school football was my life, so hopefully now college football is going to be my life for a while.
All right, thank you for sharing that, and we're going to move on to our last question, one where we can suspend reality a little bit, dream a little. If you were to be given unlimited cash and the ability to move back and forth through time, and you had a chance to pick your perfect sports weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, what would that be?
I'd say on Friday night, I would go back to the 4 overtime win against Weddington. That was probably the hypest moment of my life when we won and we all stormed the field. And then Saturday, I'd say I'd want to go back to the Chapel Hill NC State game this last year and watch that game because we beat the crap out of them. And then Sunday, I've always wanted to go to a Tennessee Titans football game because that's been my team, because my first Pee Wee team was the Carmel Titans, and they've been my team ever since. So I'd love to go see a Tennessee Titans game because I've never been. So,
if you could give any advice to any underclassmen listening to the show, or underclassmen on the Sun Valley team, what advice would you give them from your perspective, having lived through this over the last 4 years?
Don't let a moment go to waste, because there were games where I was just like, I want to get this over with. I want to get off the field, and I wish I could have them back now. Games when we were losing, I just wanted them to be over, but I'd go back to games we lost and play in them just to get another snap in. So just enjoy every moment and don't waste them. Don't wish them away because you don't get them back.
That's great advice. Well, Ty, it was a pleasure having you on the Sidelines today, and thank you very much, and we wish you all the best at NC State.
Thank you for having me.
I want to thank Ty Griffiths once more for joining me here on the Sidelines, giving of his time during the school week, and I, for one, cannot wait to see him wearing the red and white of the North Carolina State Wolfpack and playing on Saturday afternoons. Go get him, Ty. Thanks for joining me here on the Sidelines, and don't forget to check out our website at unioncountyfootball.com for links and recap of this show and all our previous shows, as well as a ton more. unioncountyfootball.com for football news 24/7, 365.
Thanks for listening to On the Sidelines, the official podcast of UnionCountyFootball.com, the #1 online source for football information in Union County, North Carolina.